Are you a creative professional or business owner feeling stuck? Maybe you're questioning your purpose or are experiencing a deep sense of professional unworthiness. These feelings can bubble up during times of change and can really affect how you show up or make decisions in your business. As someone who has built and navigated the ups and downs of a six-figure creative business, I'm sharing a real-world experience of a reckoning that forced a complete overhaul of my identity, beliefs, and approach, which inevitably affected my business direction. In this episode, we're going to dive deep into the concept of Dark Night of the Soul as a catalyst for deep mindset shifts. My hope is that you'll walk away with an understanding of what this experience may look like, some steps to finding solid ground when everything feels shaky, and maybe even a powerful realization that true success isn't just about what you build or earn, but about who you become when you learn to let go of expectations and detach your worth from your business's ebbs and flows. So go grab your favorite beverage and let's dive in. So I want to be clear up front. In this episode, I'm going to be sharing from my own lived experience as a creative professional and business owner. I don't have professional credentials in psychology or coaching, so if anything I say resonates strongly or stirs some discomfort, I encourage you to explore it further on your own, perhaps with a qualified professional. My hope is that by sharing the story, you'll find parallels and insights for your own path. Now, for years, like many of you, creatives and business owners out there, I have faced both triumphs and challenges. In 2022, as my business began to show signs of a downturn, I found myself turning inward, placing the blame squarely on my own shoulders. Questions like, did I not do enough? Did my work no longer resonate? Was my past success just a fleeting pandemic buying mania? Or had I truly built something sustainable? These questions quickly multiplied into, is this what I actually want to do anymore? And what do I do if it's not? It was incredibly difficult to reach any solid conclusions, and I felt a growing sense of worry and profound misalignment with where I was. I knew I was personalizing the situation more than I should have, and this slowdown forced me to question everything. What's worse is that I felt isolated in this experience. Sure, I had beautiful, wonderful people around me for support, but unless you've been here and been here running your own business, I feel like it's tough to truly grasp. And this is the tricky part of running your own business or creating art, especially as a sensitive creative, is that this experience can sometimes unearth buried feelings or desires to which we never planned to experience or feel, and don't have a how-to guide of how to navigate through it. And this period of time for me definitely did that and more to what I now recognize as Dark Night of the Soul. And this is a concept I briefly touched on in a previous episode, but I wanted to explore this in depth today, as this marked a pivotal shift in my mindset and in my business. So let's first define what Dark Night of the Soul is for those who aren't familiar. Simply put, it's a profoundly dark and disorienting void that leads you to question everything about who you are, what you desire, and your intrinsic value. It's a space where your shadow side, your ego, your deepest fears, and your doubts often become amplified, demanding to be faced. And unfortunately, this period doesn't just last a night. It can stretch on for months, even years. As Wikipedia describes it, Dark Night of the Soul can be used as a synonym for a crisis of faith. More generally, it's used to informally describe an extremely difficult and painful period in one's life. The spiritual teacher Inayat Khan offers an even more striking perspective. There can be no rebirth without a dark night of the soul, a total annihilation of all you believed in and thought that you were. And I'm getting goosebumps as I'm sharing that because I can confirm that all of this rings true. This intense discomfort, relentless questioning, and pervasive internal darkness lasted about 2 years for me. And it did annihilate everything I believed in and even thought that I valued, only to be left with the question of, now what? But as dark and as difficult as it got, this dark night of the soul broke me down just as much as it built me up. The turning point began when I entered a space of surrender. I started to move with the challenging emotions rather than trying to push them away or resist them. One day I may have cried for no reason, and so I did, without judgment. Other days I'd lean into what brought me joy and let go of the need to be productive or to have it all figured out. I began to detach myself from any specific destination or preconceived idea or story about myself and my business. And this act of surrender, without necessarily giving up, allowed me to release what was no longer serving me and opened me up day by day to what could be. I also began to cultivate a deeper sense of trust in myself and in the universe, believing that I would eventually find my way through. I researched spiritual practices that could help me feel more grounded and find stability amidst the internal chaos, like meditation, somatic movement, and earthing, to name a few. Simultaneously, I also took practical steps in my physical reality to support my business financially and make connections with people I had already fostered a relationship with, which provided me a much-needed sense of security and opportunity. I found supportive group circles that were spiritual in nature where I could listen and share with like-minded individuals, offering the emotional support that I needed, in addition to sharing this experience and these feelings with friends and my partner. Slowly, I became comfortable with the discomfort, releasing the idea of not knowing the answers and being okay with that. I started seeing this as a new adventure, and I grew more curious about where it was leading me. What would I find around this corner? What would I do if I tried that? The key to this was focusing on what I could control and consciously let go of what I couldn't, or perhaps what I never truly had control over in the first place. My ego gradually quieted, my core beliefs shifted and even healed, and in time, so did my business. My mind began to reframe this difficult period not as a personal or professional failure, but as a clearing and a reconnection to self that I had lost touch with. It became an opportunity to start again, to start fresh, to plant new seeds. So what felt like an ending was actually, in fact, a powerful new beginning. I moved from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance, even though nothing tangible had been built yet. And I realized that this challenge and this experience was actually manure for the next stage of my career and my business. It was something I didn't plan for or expect to experience, but I can now say that I'm grateful for it because I no longer feel the need to attach my worth or value to my business, sales, or productivity. I also don't feel the need to have every single little detail figured out, but to have an aim and a broad goal and take mindful, intentional steps towards that, allowing things to fall into place as they need to along the way. So if you find yourself in this space, no matter how deep or dark, first, I want to say that you're not alone. So many are walking this path with you, even if you don't know it. I also want you to know that you've done nothing wrong. Hopefully you can start to see this experience as a moment where you're being planted, not buried, even though it kind of feels like the latter. But really, this journey is about growth, not perfection, or even having all the answers. It is leading you to build what is next and to step into your becoming. Navigating this isn't a linear path either, so please be patient and compassionate with yourself. And if you need a deeper level of support, I encourage you to find that at local spiritual circles, support groups, online communities, or through professionals educated in this specific experience. So I'm curious if you've ever had a dark night of the soul, or at least a significant period of questioning in your own life or your own business. What strategies or practices helped you find stability or clarity during this time? Or maybe you have some questions about mine. I will do my best to answer as best that I can. Either way, I hope that by sharing my story and reading other people's stories in the comments, everyone can find some sense of resonance and perhaps a glimmer of insight for your own journey through this darkness. Thank you so much for listening and sharing this space with me today. If you resonated with this episode or have suggestions for future topics, like this video and let me know in the comments section. Everything else you'd like to explore about my services or sign up to my newsletter can be found in the description box. Until next time, my friend, always stay curious, and we'll see you in the next episode.